Hyperborea, the four continents, North Pole, Arctic, north of Greenland, north of Iceland, north of Canada, north of Alaska, north of Russia, Siberia, north of Scandinavia, Europe. You know, this is very, by the way, this is Vibes of Cosmos that shows the moon. The moon is the map of the world. Now let's see about Hyperborea. In the far north, there is a high and paradisal place, people by an assembly of beings of superhuman longevity and wisdom. This is the place where Earth rises to join the celestial center, the pole of heaven, right? Very awesome. North wind, the North Pole, the land of the Hyperboreans, paradise. They are never sick, live a long time, are very happy, have pleasant weather and no strife, make music and dance a lot, honor Apollo. So this is what in the ancient texts by the ancient peoples of before our time they were saying about Hyperborea. Don't forget the regions of what we call today Russia, which was previously called on the maps Tartaria, which was previously called Scythia, which was previously connected via land between the north of Russia and the four continents of Hyperborea. It was connected by land, okay? So then maybe the Tartarian Scythians are descendants, genetically speaking, of the Hyperboreans. As you know, on the ancient world maps, the four continents in the North Pole existed. There was no secret. Now today, what we see in Google and 3D CGI is just blue 3D graphics. So sad, our human existence. Now this spot is the summit of what in the Hindu Puranas, you know, the Vedas and the Hindu Puranas, is called Shveta Dvipa, Mount Meru or Sumeru. You see, people misunderstand and then they take out of context. They say, oh, one text says something and the other text says something else. No, all the texts, well, that's in the ancient Vedas in Sanskrit or in the biblical text in Hebrew or in Aramaic or like in ancient Greece or other stuff, all the texts point to the North Pole, to Hyperborea. And you can call it Hyperborea or Shambala or the Chosen One or the Garden of Eden. It's the same place. Or Mount Meru. You know, people say, oh, Mount Meru, Sumeru is something different than Hyperborea. No, it's the same thing. It is the North Pole of the Earth, of what we call today the Earth. And Vibes of Cosmos explains how the North Pole shifts and there's different stages in the eras. In our era, which lasts for like a long time, we call it the mystical North Pole. Now, in different mythology, Norse, for example, in Mayan and Slavic and all the mythology, I'm just going to put some examples here. They show the tree of life, you know, that huge tree. And of course, this whole thing of the sphere is the electromagnetic dome that covers the Earth. It is not curved land or curved water. I guess you know that by now. Now, in Genesis, in the biblical text, in ancient Hebrew or Aramaic, and the river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into four heads, four continents, parted, divided by the water that comes out of the north. You're going to understand at the end of this video what it means to be the earth is flat and also hollow, but not in the sense of globe hollow. Even in the ancient text, it says that below the surface of the earth, there's thousands and thousands of kilometers. That does not make the earth a globe. Now, but people mix the whole thing with flat earth, hollow earth and globe earth. In the midst of the four countries, which is the four continents with different humanities, is a whirlpool into which they're empty, these four indrawing seas, blah blah. Its circumference is almost 33 French miles, and it is all of a magnetic stone, electromagnetism. Do you understand now the whole thing about 33 and France and the Illuminati and all that stuff? There's nothing bad about 33 and all that stuff. It's bad depending on who uses the information to do what in our lives. Okay, so the actual number itself and the magnetic stone, that is not bad. The bad thing is, like the same thing when you have a knife. You can use a knife to cook something delicious, or you can use to do something bad to other people, right? It's the same knife. It's just the person who uses the knife. Okay, the same thing goes with information. Now, according to the Vedas text, and the Persian Avesta, again, which is Iran today. Iran today is actually Persia. Iran is not Islam. Okay. Paradesha, according to the text, was literally located in the sense of the world at the pole, but it's called the north, the magnetic. Pardes means garden, and this is from the Smoky God, the famous book of the father and son from Norway, from Scandinavia. My father was an ardent believer in Odin and Thor, and had frequent Odin and Thor, right? Interpretations of the gods, and had frequently told me they were gods who came from far beyond the north wind. There was a tradition, my father explained, that still further northward from Scandinavia was a land more beautiful than any that mortal man had ever known, and that it was inhabited by the chosen. Who are the chosen? One day he turned to me and asked, "My son, are you willing to go with me and explore, to go far beyond where man has ever ventured?" I answered affirmatively. The city we had reached was called Jehu. The houses were large and beautifully constructed and quite uniform in appearance, yet without sameness. Vegetation grew in lavish exuberance, and fruit of all kinds possessed the most delicate flavor. Clusters of grapes 4 and 5 feet in length, each grape as large as an orange, and apples larger than a man's head, typified the wonderful growth of all things of the inside of the earth. Inside of the earth, it does not mean that the earth is a globe. It means the earth is flat with a super immense, impressive, lots of kilometers underneath the surface. Just like the Vedas show and the biblical text show and the ancient text show in all the languages. It's super amazing. The great redwood trees of California, which today we see as the biggest trees on earth, would be considered mere underbrush compared with the giant forest trees extending for miles and miles in all directions in the Garden of Eden, Hyperborea. It's further north than Svalbard, that belongs to Norway. It's further north than the Franz Josef land, which belongs to Russia. It's further north than Greenland. Can you go there? If you can, don't come back. Beg them to allow you to stay there. Now, in the Vedas, what we call the ancient Hindu text, the 4 continents receive these names, and there's legends in the Vedas, what we call the mythology, about the inhabitants. This is an interpretation of the same stuff we see in Vibes of Cosmos, right? In the moon map. Human beings occupy Jambudvipa, right, which is one of the 4 continents, as per the Vedas. Now, this is an interpretation of how you can understand the hollow earth on the flat earth. It's just a depression beyond the snowy mountains, because the snowy mountains are the border, so that you and I cannot go there, because we go and we die if we don't have a UFO with electromagnetic energy or a submarine or something to go beyond the harsh weather of the frontiers, which are the snowy mountains. And then we would go down. I have no idea how many kilometers or miles, but you go down inside. I don't understand why it's so hard to actually understand earth flat, earth hollow. In that case, it's mind-blowing to me. Now, in all these 4 continents, for example, one of the continents that's surrounding the Garden of Eden, the human inhabitants on one of the continents do not live in houses but sleep on the ground. They are about 24 feet tall, which is 7.3 meters tall, and live for 500 years old. Of course, on the ancient maps, everybody knew about Hyperborea. The kingdom of Shambala, which people say, oh no, Shambala is something different. No, Shambala, Hyperborea, the same stuff. It's said to be surrounded by iron mountains, magnetic force. From the outside, its shape is circular, and it is circled by snowy mountains. Inside, it is shaped like a blooming lotus with 8 petals. And this is how you can understand when we speak about hollow earth on flat earth. You just get there. If you manage to go beyond the snowy mountains, which is the geographical frontier, which is huge, because you go and you freeze to death if you don't have proper technology, or if you don't go in a time when the sun is close that you can actually navigate. And of course, there are storms and there's bad weather before you get to the region where you go inside in a depression, which is it's a whirlpool, and it's a magnetic mountain, which is electromagnetic forces, and that is the Garden of Eden, the chosen paradise. What we call paradise, one of the paradises, because of course we can also go in a straight line to Antarctica. So that's why Vibes of Cosmos, the moon is the map of the world. Do you understand how important it is? Do you understand the 4 continents? Do you understand that also there was wars with UFOs and electromagnetic vehicles, and there was explosions? There was a time when Siberia Russia and the northern part of Canada and Alaska was connected by land to Hyperborea. There's even like a continent which is underwater between the continents of Hyperborea and Russia, Siberia. Probably even Iceland and Greenland were connected. Who knows? There's so much. But now I hope you understand the importance of understanding where we live and understanding what you and I are not allowed to explore: geography, history, geopolitics international. See you in the next video.